How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about ChargePoint. It had quite the run the other day, just like other EV stocks and infrastructure related plays. And many have asked me, did you see the pullback? Why is it pulling back? And I'm like, hey, it is the market conditions. Plus, on top of that, I see this as a potential opportunity if it does decide to continue on this downtrend. I'll talk about it further inside of this video. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder or you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know those key levels and look at ChargePoint in a bullish case scenario and as well as in a bearish case scenario. I am a long-term investor for ChargePoint, so again, I have a biased view. I want to make sure I'm being clear about that. And then we're going to go on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information. The reason why this is important, we're going to be taking a look at the recent institutional ownership in regards to filings, and then we're going to be taking a look at the short interest. Depending on what the short interest looks like, it will have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know what was the buying and as well as the selling behavior like on the institutional side and as well as on the retail side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for ChargePoint. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $24.52, being down 5.03%. On the low, it tested $24.08, and then on the high, testing $25.68. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 10.24 million shares, and for the average volume over 10 trading days, it was at 11.242 million shares. So one thing that you notice right away, we did have below average volume, but it wasn't a huge difference. But since we did have a pullback inside of the market, we could tell ChargePoint was impacted by this. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is the daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is at 56.98. And then when we take a look at our moving averages, you can see that we are below the 200-day, but we do have strength above the 100-day, the 21-day EMA, and as well as the 50-day. So of course, ChargePoint was a benefactor when we had a lot of EV plays that were running up. We ended up seeing these highs over here at $28.27, and we have pulled back quite a bit. So if we do continue this pullback, the next area I'll be very curious to see hold up will be right around the 100-day at $23.58. As far as for the low on the day, $24.08 held up very well. But like I said, if we continue to have volatility, don't be surprised to see it test the 100-day. If it did end up breaking through it, then of course the next level I'd want to see preferably hold up will be right here around 23.21. You guys know already I see ChargePoint as a long-term play. So I love ChargePoint when it's actually below $20. If you're building a position at this particular area, so around whether it's going to be at 19, 18, 17, and so forth, you really can't go wrong. As far as for these current levels, again, I feel it's not too bad considering the fact that the bill is going to be passed, and we have to kind of have a good idea of where ChargePoint is going to be finding its new base. But for now, let's see if it'll go back to the $23 range, and then we'll discuss it further from there. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for ChargePoint. So as we scroll down further on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So as we can see here, as of late, you see for November the 10th, we have 3 institutions or funds that ended up closing out their positions. And then as far as where we see a filing of an inflow, we have Alliance Asset Management GmbH that purchased 45,000 shares. We also have South State Corp that purchased 390 shares. And we also do Handelsbanken and Founder AB that purchased just under 500,000 shares. And we could see a continuation of this. We have some hedging here with Pro Equities, and we also have CIBC Asset Management purchasing 12,000 1,258. These are just the filings, but we do see there is some interest for ChargePoint. Now, when we take a look at the short interest, the dark pool short volume ratio is at 52.86%, and then for the dark pool short volume being at just over 3.8 million shares. As we scroll down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 2.9 million, updated 17 minutes ago, and then for the short ball free rate, it is at 0.48%. Now, when we take a look at the history of the short volume ratio, you can see for the close of the 8th, it was at 54.24. And then for the close of the 9th, it's at 52.86. So one thing that is very clear, ChargePoint does have short squeeze potential, but it also does show that there's a lot of negative market sentiment around the stock. So this is part of the reasons why you're going to be seeing a lot of volatility, and I can easily see ChargePoint being choppy, especially leading into earnings that's going to be coming out in the first week of December. So now let's go into the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for ChargePoint. So we could see here on the inflow, it was 41.21, and then on the outflow, it was 43.47. So we ended up having an outflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, we had 0 on the large, 24.30 on the medium, and then on the small, we had 16.91. Keep in mind, this is in the millions as well. When we take a look at the outflow side, it was 0 on the large. On the medium, it was 27.21, and then on the small, it was 16.26. When we take a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you could see for today, November the 10th, it ended up being 0. So you can see we didn't really have any large scale orders whatsoever. But when we take a look at what was happening on the retail side, so the small scale orders, we actually see more inflows than we have outflows. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, this is where we had more outflows or more selling than we had buying. And now when we take a look now at the turnover ratio, it was at 3.18%. And for a stock like ChargePoint, that is not too bad whatsoever. Of course, there's going to be a lot of traders that are in the play, but not to a high degree, just knowing to the fact that, hey, they know that the stock ran up quite a bit and they want to take advantage of that downside. Let's be honest here. And then plus we have people that are buying in because they saw it at $28 and they're like, hey, it's pulled back, let me buy in right now. So this is why it's very important to have a good idea of what's going on when you're taking a look at a stock, and before you decide, well, you know what, I'm going to be buying some shares. I'm going to be talking about how I look at ChargePoint for investment reasons and the final thoughts. So you know what? Let's get into it right now. So for my final thoughts for ChargePoint, this will still continue to be one of my high conviction plays. Even though it pulled back inside of the market, I don't see it as an opportunity yet because I still see some more downside. And the best position to start building in ChargePoint is when it's below $20. And when I was talking about it and I was saying to load up, it was around $17. We saw it get to like 28 bucks, and I must say that was pretty impressive, but the pullback was inevitable. As far as earnings is concerned, they ended up making an announcement saying that it's going to be ready by December the 7th. So I know for myself, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that. I am not going to be expecting big things, but I am looking forward to seeing improvements, but I know for a fact they're not going to be profitable, but who knows? I could be wrong on that, right? Now, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information, one thing that is very clear, ChargePoint does have short squeeze potential. There's a lot of negative market sentiment around the stock, and I'm not surprised by that. That's always been the case for ChargePoint. So these are one of the reasons why there's so much volatility in this play. But when we took a look at the order flow distribution, one thing that was clear, especially for the turnover ratio, there are many people who are bought into ChargePoint and they're continuing to hold on to their shares. And as far as for the recent run-up that it had, there was just a lot of profit taking. It went to 28. Now it's pulling back. So you got to understand that, be aware of that, and don't be frustrated if the stock is pulling back, because at least you know if it comes back going under below 20 bucks, what I said on this channel, why you want to consider it as an opportunity. But just make sure that you're doing your homework and you're doing your due diligence, because when the stock does pull back, I want to make sure that you are confident enough to say, well, you know what, this looks like a pretty good position, and I do believe in regards to the potential of the EV sector years and years down the road. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll be talking real soon.